Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Franchise Interviews, where for over 4 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show today. We're meeting with George Naddaff, Chairman and CEO to UFood Grill. And George Naddaff is considered by many to be the guru of franchising. The most important thing at UFood Grill is taste, hands down. And that's coming up on segment 2 of Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Who's helping build America one small business at a time? Franchise Inc., a free consulting service.
For years, Franchise Inc., a national company, has been helping people franchise their business concept and help folks like you own a franchise.
With over 2,500 franchise systems out there, it can be awfully confusing. Don't take chances with your future. At Franchise Inc., we've done the homework for you. We can help match your interests and background with the franchise that's right for you. And we only work with proven franchise systems with a solid reputation and track record of success.
The consultants at Franchise Inc. can help you with your short and long-term wealth strategy.
Give us a call today and we'll send you free our best-selling book, Solving the Puzzle of Owning a Franchise.
Remember, it's not just owning a franchise, but finding the right one for you. Call us at 800-961-0420 for a quick consultation to discuss what's important to you, your business, and your future.
The service is free. The book is free. What do you have to lose? Find the business that's right for you.
Call Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420. That's Franchise Inc. at 800-961-0420.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where for over 4 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And today's show is being brought to you by Franchise Times Magazine. Franchise Times is the only magazine that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees, and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. How you doing today, Don? Welcome back.
I'm doing fine this week, Marty. How are you?
Good. Same here. weather seems to have picked up, Don. I think spring is here now. So we're able to open up the windows this week, and so I'm very happy about that.
Feel alive. Go out and let the sun hit your face.
Feel invigorated.
Get in shape a little. Run around.
Oh, absolutely.
Feel kind of normal again.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was definitely a long winter, and baseball season is here. I know you're a big baseball fan, and now you're a coach. So I'm gonna have to start calling you coach, aren't I?
Yeah.
So it's
a lot of fun coaching little 6 and 7-year-old kids as they're first playing the game and learning how to play. It's fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that stuff too. I guess I have a couple more years left, but still looking forward to that. Our last show, we met with David Ostro, CEO of Body Balance for Performance, and Body Balance for Performance is the nation's largest golf fitness franchise, and they specialize in exercising and training to help improve the golf skills of their customers. I thought it was an interesting show. This was kind of I guess you could say new for our library, wasn't it? I don't think we've had a lot of type of golf franchises, maybe 1 or 2 in the 4 years that we've been doing this show. Any thoughts on last week?
Well, I think they're in a still growth industry. It's amazing the growth of golf in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
There's just so many people I know who play it, who love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems, I like their whole business model. Everybody wants to try to become a better player. Everybody wants to be in better shape. It's they're kind of combining the two. It's we talk, and we've had a lot of franchisors back on the show. Again, that's a franchise I would definitely like to have back on in a couple of years, just to see where it's gone to.
Yeah,
and how much it's grown, because golf is a national. It's international, but here in the U.S. it's so popular.
Yeah, I like what I like about is going after this particular market too, Don. Is that I don't say money isn't an obstacle, but typically when you're targeting golf players, I guess you could say you're targeting, let's say, a more affluent audience. Would you say? It is an expensive sport, isn't it? So by targeting that particular group, maybe money doesn't always become an obstacle, to additional services, So I just like going after this particular group. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think there's many people out there that are willing to pay for this kind of service to improve their golf game. Because what I've noticed is that golf is an obsession. It's amazing the addiction that people have to golf. My dad used to play, and I know a lot of people that also play golf. I live pretty much right on a golf course. It's amazing where we are. We're kind of up on a mountain, and so you can't walk from hole to hole. You have to drive from one hole to another. But I watch the golf players play sometimes, and you can tell it's an addiction. So
it's a good point about golf being kind of a discretionary type income. Tough times, maybe people won't play, but with this particular franchise, people usually aren't going to when it comes to fitness and health. Yeah, that's something people are willing to pay for. So I guess that's why they're probably doing well. Those people who are thinking, well, golf, do I have? But at the same time, hey, it's people still have to have fun during tough times. But it's the health and fitness aspect, which is interesting component to the franchise opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I thought it was a great show. I enjoyed that one. So we'll have to, again, as you say, we'll have them back, in the near future. So so what's going on in franchise? Any news or any articles that we have to talk about? I know we had a couple last week we meant to get to, and there just wasn't enough time.
Yeah, here's something, Marty, by Brooke Howell. The International Franchise Association brought together bankers, politicians, government officials, and franchise leaders for a small business lending summit recently in D.C. in an effort to work towards solutions to the obstacles that franchisees and other small business owners are encountering in getting the loans they need to start up and grow. As part of the summit, high-achieving franchisors and franchisees talked about what they love about franchising and how the business model helps turn people into successful entrepreneurs. I get jazzed by the franchising concept where people put their own money at risk, says Nigel Travis, a franchising veteran and president and CEO, Dunkin' Brands, the parent company of Dunkin' Donuts. Bright Star Franchising CEO and co-founder Shelley Sun said she decided to franchise her home health care business to help more people and to enable other families like hers become business owners. She added that she's passionate about helping her franchisees to make money while doing something they love. It's that commitment to helping franchisees succeed that makes franchising a great business model and propels leading franchisors to the top. The selection process for franchisees has to be brutal, says Travis, explaining that he'd rather have it that way than watch people fail.
Right.
And
that's an interesting quote.
Yeah.
Using the word brutal, Don, I mean, that's pretty extreme, isn't it? To say, that the selection process has to be brutal. It was funny because I went back the other day and I was listening to the interview that we had with George Naddaff, who we're having on the show today, and he said he would rather say no to someone than yes, as far as letting them in on the franchise opportunity, because they're the same reasons. You don't want to see them fail. It's it's a big decision on the franchisor and franchisee's part. So, that's a great quote.
Franchising, of course, helps mitigate traditional business risk. There's always risk, but it's a decreased risk relative to other business, says Hank Barmel, owner of 2 Fast Signs locations. Training is a vital element of the support that franchisors provide to their franchisees, but Travis said that some interpret the idea of training too narrowly. It shouldn't just happen when a franchisee signs on. I think it has to be an ongoing process. I'm amazed at how interested our franchisees are in ongoing training. Franchisors also work to help prospective franchisees secure the funding they need to get started and to aid existing franchisees securing the money they need to grow. We're seeing more franchisors doing that, maybe getting more involved. Obviously, funding is a tough time, but this is interesting, and holding a summit just to really, just try to stay on top of things. Why are certain people being successful? What are some problems in the industry? And but overall, it's good to see that most franchisors, they want to help people. They want to see them succeed, help people, get them to be more successful and happy than they've ever been.
Yeah, it's got to be a great feeling, right, for the franchisor's part, Don. You know what I mean? Too, and we've had, so many of those stories, in the 4 years that we've been doing the show. A lot of times we'll ask our guests, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you? It's amazing to me how often one of the most common responses is just being able to see the franchisees become so successful, And we were telling one of our guests were telling a story. It was a couple weeks ago, I guess, about how franchising changed his life. He became a franchisee, and he was showing his house in Hawaii, and he said that only could have happened through franchising, no other way. So, I agree with that. I think that's fantastic.
So that article was How Franchisors Lead the Way to Entrepreneurial Success. This one, Marty, AARP Viva, Franchises Under the Magnifying Glass, How to Choose the Right Company and Get Resources to Run Your Own Business by Jeff Williams. And it starts out Juanita Vigil, in her early 50s, wanted to be her own boss, but without all the risk associated with starting her own business. So she and her husband bought a Jiffy Lube franchise. She's not alone. The number of Hispanic-owned businesses in the U.S. is projected to reach 4.3 million in 2016. That's a 40% increase.
Wow.
In these spotty economic times, franchising is a business model that is increasingly making more sense. With a franchise, you have a template to launch and run your business, ongoing technical support, and most of the time a recognizable brand. Still, as Vigil quickly learned, after opening the door to your own Jiffy Lube, Subway, or other brick-and-mortar or service establishment, you'll have plenty of work ahead. Besides your passion and money, you'll also need a suitable lifestyle and relevant experience. No franchise formula fits everyone. Rather, you need to fit the formula. Even then, it's a delicate dance. You'll need the right people, location, and lifestyle. You have to choose wisely, considering the type of business, fees required, expected rate of return, location, and more. You need all the right elements, she says. For her, staff was key. Once you have the right people, the rest is easy. She had 12 years of experience owning an online travel company, was ready to try something new.
Right.
But in general, that's the Latino segment is really growing in franchising.
Wow, that's interesting. Some pretty significant growth, too. I think you said 40% on?
Yeah, 40%.
That's incredible. You think about it. It's amazing.
And to learn the basics, she took a free 7-day Chamber of Commerce course. Latinos can often seek assistance from the IFA Minority Fran program, which offers access to education and opportunities to explore offerings of companies actively looking to recruit minorities. Some franchises, like Burger King, Domino's Pizza, Liberty Tax Service, offer minority programs, which can include everything from recruitment to education to special financing offers.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Don. Because we spend a lot of time talking about the Vet Fran organization, which is tailored to veterans that want to go into franchising. But we haven't spent a lot of time talking about minorities going into franchising. I think it would be a great topic, if we have someone from Minority Fran or someone from the IFA kind of talking about these programs, because I think it is a hot topic right now. So it's one I just kind of wrote down as you're speaking to put on the hit list as far as calls go, because I think our listeners would really benefit from that. Interesting.
Rob Bond, who's a franchising specialist, hesitates to label some franchises more Latino-friendly than others. Franchises are almost impossible to compare, he says, who compiles the annual top 26 franchises for Hispanics. He says most franchise buyers are in their 30s and 40s. Someone 55-plus is probably going to have a difficult time with the year-to-year fluctuations in income. For those people who are betting the ranch, they better do something they're very comfortable with and have expertise in. Otherwise, you could end up destitute.
Pretty bold, if you think about it. Yeah, I mean, this is something that you don't want to get into where if it's going to keep you up at night, Don. We've had stories. I remember Carol Mercurio, franchise consultant, when we had her on the show a couple times. She was dealing with, I think it was Carol, it was one client, and the client was really nervous and trepidatious about getting into franchising. He was spending a lot of time with her. And I think when she saw him, she said, what's going on? And I guess he was just having sleepless nights. And, she said to him, I don't think this is for you, or I don't think you're ready for this. You know what I mean? Because if it's going to come down to that, where you're not sleeping at night, you're so worried about getting into it, then you're not 100% sold on the concept. Right. You know what I mean? So you're right. It's got to be, one, you believe in franchising. You select the right one, of course. And again, there's so many choices out there today. In the history of the world, I mean, there's never been so many franchise opportunities, so there's just so much to choose from, so many industries. It's doing your homework, If you need to take your time with it, then go ahead. But you have to, do your due diligence. And if you don't, shame on you, because all the information is available today. It's just time-consuming. So, yeah. Right. It's well said.
Next article out of California. Yogurtland's goal from hot to sustainable restaurants, urban chain riding high, mindful of pitfalls, by Carrie Hamanaka. Anaheim-based Yogurtland likes to say it grew up during the recession, and it did. The 5-year-old company has grown rapidly to about 120 shops since its founding, avoiding the sales slumps and shutdowns that hit some competitors during the recent recession. Now, the self-serve frozen yogurt chain is pushing expansion. Plans to have 75 restaurants open and under development by the end of the year. They're going into a bunch of states. The plan is a shift for Yogurtland, which counts most of its current restaurants in California, with others in a few other countries like Mexico and Japan. We want to start to develop the Atlantic and Northeast, says Larry Sidoti, Vice President Development Operations, who we just had on the show a couple of weeks ago, and told us firsthand some of this. We strategically picked areas that we felt were conducive to weather, population, density, and opportunity. Yogurtland's appeal is the selection of flavors and a self-service setup that lets guests pick up to a bunch of flavors. And it goes into a little bit of the history of the company and their growth. Asian-inspired frozen yogurt flavors gained popularity and fueled the growth of Pinkberry and Red Mango, both based in L.A. It's a really industry that we have to keep an eye on, because there's a lot of players that seem to be pretty popular that are also in this space. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. Another franchise, Encino-based Menchie's Group, another self-serve, started with a single restaurant a year after Yogurtland, and they're doing some good things.
We had them on the show. Do you remember that one? Or it was a pretty interesting show too.
And so Larry says, we can't rest. You may come in and think you have the market, and then you realize that somebody new comes in. Then you have to then you have a battle on your hands, and survival becomes part of the game instead of just continuing success. A firm focus has helped so far. The company didn't go down the road of offering discounts during the downturn. A few months ago, it even hiked its prices for the first time in history.
Right.
That's something interesting. And they're expanding their menu. He says, I come from a philosophy of do what you do and do it better than everybody else. That still leaves room to tinker with frozen yogurt flavors and toppings. So they got a lot of good stuff going on. But, that was a good show. And I guess any business you're in, period, you're going to have competition. So I guess you have to be smart. You have to try to be the best. You have to be the best at marketing, at training, have the best employees. Every element of your business is crucial, especially when you're trying to sell franchises. And they're going to look up and down the line, the strength of the franchisees, the management and ownership and history of the franchise, in this case, Yogurtland.
Right.
So there's a lot. We've talked numerous times when someone's investing in a franchise. What should the whole due diligence process. That should maybe be a future show to go over the basics again. When you're looking at a franchise system, you should have a checklist of at least 10 things you're doing, for example.
Yeah, no, that would be a fantastic show. One of the things you said, Don, that I thought was interesting, I've seen a pattern over the last 3 weeks. You know that I'm a internet radio junkie, so I listen to some other shows, too, on the topics of entrepreneurship and business. And one thing that I've heard, and it's been a pattern over the last 3 weeks, is getting into a business during a recession. And this Larry actually mentioned that, too, didn't he? Was it in the article? And when we had him on the show as well. Right. One of the best times to get into a business is during a recession. I just heard an interview last night with the same thing. It's for a number of different reasons. I mean, sometimes, again, you have your more choices of location, don't you? I mean, we've spoke about that there's still some killer locations out there available, and those locations are probably not going to be available in, who knows, 6 months or a year down the road. But a good
That's what I want to speak to George about shortly, get his viewpoint on the recession, and it's just a good time to start up a franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good news. It looks like Mr. Naddaff just called in, Don. So why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Good job in segment 1, Don. Coming up in segment 2, he's considered by many to be the guru of franchising. We're meeting with Mr. George Naddaff, Chairman and CEO to UFood Grill. Coming up in segment 2.
Big Mouth! Okay, you've got my attention.
It's a rare event in the world of franchising when an opportunity comes your way that can and will thrive in almost any economic environment. It's here, and its name is Big Mouth Advertising.
Big Mouth.
BMA is a leader in the exciting world of mobile media advertising. Why is mobile media advertising able to defy the economic cycles? The answer is obvious. In times of economic weakness, advertising is crucial for survival as the consumer dollar is scarce and the competition fierce. What is mobile media? It's the newest and fastest growing segment in the advertising world. Mobile media brings the message directly to the consumer. Mobile media goes to the consumer in traffic, where he eats and where he plays. It quite simply cannot be turned off or thrown out. And when you join the Big Mouth team as a franchisee, you are joining the best. The Big Mouth advantage is simple and successful. We invest in a strong infrastructure and in great people. As a franchisee, you have access to this entire system, including telemarketing, sales maximization, general and administrative support, design and creative services. even billing and collection services. All you need is a mobile media vehicle, a driver, and the willingness to create a financially sound and limitless business for yourself. There are no long-term leases to sign, no expensive build-outs, no office personnel to hire. You will be part of the Big Mouth advertising community and share its entire website and reception services, as well as its complete back-office services. This virtual office guarantees you the freedom to close those sales that will make you a success. We are so proud of our successes that we have voluntarily disclosed our revenue statements. Now, how many other franchises are doing that? Even in these historically rough financial times, Big Mouth Advertising has become a dominant force in the mobile media industry. Join the Big Mouth team and take the first step toward financial freedom. Please call Ron at 888-98-GO-BIG. That's 888-98-GO-BIG. Big Mouth!
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And as we were saying earlier, Don, we have a great show today because we're meeting with the legendary George Naddaff, Chairman and CEO to UFood Grill. And George Naddaff is considered by many to be the guru of franchising. The most important thing at UFood Grill is taste, hands down. Their chef has designed a broad menu of better-for-you versions of traditional favorites and innovative original creations. Hey, Mr. Naddaff, how you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Marty, long time no speak to.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you remember Mr. Don Johnson, Mr. Naddaff?
How can I forget that man? Hey, Don, how you doing?
Great. Doing well, George. Great to have you on. Marty and I have been real excited about this for a month now to be able to talk to you a little bit and get your viewpoints and everything and see how good things are going with UFood Grill. Sure you have a lot of good stuff going on, right?
Well, thank God, opportunity is how you view life, and if you stay positive, you'll find what you're looking for. Negative is so easy to be,
right?
And positive is so hard to be. But if you're one of those guys that are ingrained with a positive mental attitude, you'll be surprised how that can get you over the hurdles.
Absolutely. We always like to ask our guests where they're calling from this morning, Mr. Naddaff.
I'm calling, obviously, from Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, good. All right, you're ready for? I guess you're ready for baseball season. If I remember correctly, you're a big Boston Red Sox fan, aren't you?
You better believe it. I'm not too happy with what they've been doing lately.
I know. I've seen it on the internet.
Tough start. Yeah, it's a long season though, George. A lot of games.
Yeah. That's true. Since having you on the show 3 years ago, our listening audience has tripled, Mr. Naddaff. And Don and I frequently use your name in the same sentence with guys like Colonel Sanders, Dave Thomas, Ray Kroc. Can you tell our listeners about some of the franchises you've been involved with over the years and how and why you've been tagged the guru of franchising?
Well, I've been called other things, as you know. However, to be honest with you, I started my career as a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchisee back in 1967. Wow. And that experience really got me into the food business. It was one of the best franchises ever.
Yeah.
And the training was the best ever. The food, the whole magic about the Colonel, and fried chicken at that time was right on the money. And it was a meal that people could afford. And at the time, if I can remember correctly, that franchise to build out was about $150,000, which was quite inexpensive if you compare it with what prices are today.
Right. That's amazing.
And then from there, George, you just, you did some really great things. How much further was Boston Chicken?
Well, that was a Kentucky Fried Chicken was 1967. And Boston Chicken was 1988. But, we're all products of our previous life's experiences. I can remember many, many, many years ago when I was building a chain of daycare centers. They were called Living and Learning Schools. Mm-hmm. And we had a kitchen, and we had about 59 schools at the time. We were feeding the kids a meal. These were children about 2.5 to 6. And it was one of the first preschoolers in the country, for profit. And I can remember way back when I saw a mother pull in to the schoolyard. It was raining. She slammed the brakes on, got out of the car, ran into the school, grabbed the kid, ran back out to the car, threw him into the car seat, and took off. It was horrifying. I just said to myself, my God, she's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
But if you analyze where the heck she was going, why was she in such a rush? That time, women made up about 15% of the workforce. And women needed to pick up a meal that they could actually take home and present to the family. Now, in those days, I said to my partner, Grace Mitchell, I said, Grace, we have this kitchen. Why don't we just prepare a couple of meals and tell the mothers a week in advance what the entrees were going to be, and let's see what happens, because I don't like the idea that they're rushing and they're going to injure somebody. Well, Mrs. Mitchell at that time was my partner, Dr. Grace Mitchell. She was the mother of Bethany Bailey, the attorney. And we went ahead and prepared these meals and told the women that they were going to be available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And suddenly, every school that we had in the system was preparing meals for mothers to pick up. And this was way before I even dreamt of Boston Chicken take-home cooking for folks who can't be home cooking. This was strictly a stab in the dark to alleviate the problem of women rushing home and possibly injuring themselves. I remember that so well in my mind that a good 17 years later, I was told by my bride at the time, honey, pick up some rotisserie chicken for the kids tonight. And I said, honey, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken right around the corner. I don't want any of that fried stuff. All of a sudden, I heard the word fried being bad.
Right.
And I said to her, well, what do you mean? She said, well, I want the rotisserie, I want the steamed vegetables, and be sure to pick up some of that cornbread. It's delicious. Now she had my curiosity revved up. Make a long story short, I went down to that store, waited in line, couldn't believe the line was out the door. And finally, when I got inside, I saw the rotisserie chicken permeating under the flames, and the smell of it was just like an aphrodisiac. Yeah. And I saw the steamed vegetables, which were just delicious. And, of course, I analyzed who was in the line, and sure enough, the same mothers that were going to my school were now in that line picking up a meal, a whole meal, to go home. Yeah. And yet, of course, at that time, it wasn't fried. People were moving away from fried and more into wholesome meal. That concept, which started as Boston Chicken, eventually became known as Boston Market. But what was unique about it, guys, was that it was the whole meal. And people could pick up a meal for 4 people for about $13. Yeah. And the meal was outstanding. So, you see, we're all products of our previous life's experiences. We store that stuff in the back of our brains, and sometimes you say a light goes off. Well, it's really nothing more than your memory kicking in and recalling that you had that experience and you locked it in. And what happened, of course, it was the equivalent of putting a match to lighter fluid. The time had come, women wanted a meal that was prepared, wanted something that was reasonably priced. And my friend, I can only tell you, it was the fastest franchise that I ever grew in my life. And eventually it became established in many parts of the country. And women kept on calling us up and telling us how wonderful the food was, how healthy the food was. I didn't start the concept to be healthy. It was home meal, home cooking for folks who couldn't be home cooking. Yet people who were now beginning to say to me the 13 steamed vegetables were just wonderful for the kids, and couldn't say enough about the rotisserie chicken.
It was great timing, George, with more women working and
yes,
and time. No one has enough time for anything, but you still want to eat healthy. So great timing on that, and it seems like that's your niche and specialty, seeing what people need and the timing of everything. So, what made you, now get into UFood Grill, which has now been going a couple of years? What was your whole thought process on that?
Let's try to judge something for your listeners, which I think might be important for them to hear. Sometimes you can be too soon with an idea, and if you're too soon, you better have a lot of money, because the idea will germinate and take time. And if you're too late, you're amongst the also-rans. Boston Chicken / Boston Market, the timing couldn't have been any better. Today, you're hearing a lot about cholesterol, diabetes. You're hearing about the fact that a third of our kids are obese. Well, guess what? If they're obese when they're kids, they're going to be obese when they're old. Michelle Obama is running around the country visiting food companies and trying to get everybody singing in the same direction about food, nutrition, values, watching out for what they put in their bodies. What was so unique about concept UFood was all of the nutritional values were on the menu. So before anyone ordered anything, all they had to do was look up at the menu, and they knew in advance protein, fats, carbon. I mean, the whole aspect of the menu was geared for selecting in advance what you put in your mouth, because you knew in advance, because the menu told you that. Now, a lot of companies say they've got these things and they stick them in the back of the men's room, or they hide it in some computer somewhere. What the success about UFood was that we stuck it right out there, proclaiming exactly what it was. Now, people talk health, but they don't walk the talk. How many times have you heard New Year's Eve, I'm going to lose 20 pounds? Now, the gym knows that in advance, that they know you're not going to be there for more than a month or two. So they charge you a whole year's tuition, just like Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, knowing full well you're gone. And that's the problem with getting into the food business, the healthy food business, when I got into it. I was another one of these pioneers. I never do anything where I'm number two. I tend to want to be I tell people I don't paint the Picasso. I sell the Picasso. Somebody else has to paint the Picasso, and I find it, and I look at it, and I say to myself, where does this fit in the scheme of things? Well, with UFood, at the time, it was 2004, and I saw the line again. I'm a victim of lines. I tell people, watch out, because sometimes you'll get into a soup line. You don't know the difference. But the issue, of course, is I saw this concept. It was called Low Fat, No Fat at the time. It was owned by three gym rats who all looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they had the short sleeves with the muscles and the veins coming out of this. Oh, my God, they were just good-looking guys. And the guys, of course, wanted to look like them, and they came, and the girls came to look at the guys, and the guys came to look at the girls in spandex. It was a great concept, chasing people, looking at people. But the truth of the matter is, this one store in Watertown, Massachusetts, had an attraction. It was more of a cult. And this, again, was maybe a little too soon, because America is still going through this phase of food and what people should be eating. Now you hear a lot about Jamie Coulter, food revolution. You hear about Michelle Obama talking about kids. Dr. Oz has a show, it's called Health Corps. It's like the Peace Corps. And he's got these students going around the country talking to students and talking nutrition getting everybody aware of what they're putting into their body. It's a movement that's beginning to happen. It's not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you need a lot of money if you're one of the founders
right.
of these concepts. And there's, again, the danger of people stepping into something. The kind of people that we like to talk to, we like them to be in the food business, mainly because it's a tough business to learn. Yes, you can go to training, and but there's a whole thing about watching the cash. There's a whole thing about training. There's a whole thing about human resources, site selection. You were talking about real estate a few minutes ago on the show. Yes, the economy is coming back, but not fast enough. It's got some more time. So anyone that's out there looking for a franchise should be able to put it under a microscope and ask themselves a whole host of questions, because this is a one-time deal. This is an opportunity that can change your life if you pick the right concept.
Right.
If you pick the wrong concept, it can also change your life.
Mm-hmm.
So being a little bit inquisitive and not just being ready to take any hype that comes over the phone is critical, because you only get one shot. You're going to borrow from the bank. You're going to hock your wife, your firstborn, your contact lenses, your hearing aid, and your heart pacer. And you're going to go in business with bravado, and you're going to do it. You're going to do it right. Well, please, if you're going to do it, investigate. Ask the right questions. Ask the franchise company to give you the names of some of the franchisees. If they've got 40 franchisees, call all 40 franchisees.
Right.
This is the investment of your life. Do not be just sitting there being sold with verbiage. Take the time. Don't get rushed. Believe me, it'll pay in the long run. And good franchise companies will take that time and allow you to do your due diligence. And today, by law, you know as well as I do, a franchise company has to provide you with a disclosure document, which is like full confession.
Right.
And that book is your roadmap to determine. You have to do the investigation. Don't be one of these people that just buys the story because the cover looks good.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of quality franchises out there. America has been built on franchising. America taught the world to franchise. You can go anywhere in the world and see an American franchise. Today there are more franchises being sold in China. They will surpass McDonald's in this country soon with the amount of McDonald's that will open up in China. Same thing with Kentucky Fried Chicken. The old standard franchises have changed to be with the times. They're getting with the healthy bit. They have to, because if they don't, they'll be surpassed by their competitors who are doing it. There's a company called Pizza Fusion. It's organic pizza out of Florida.
Right.
Another one of those unique concepts that is now resonating. Organic pizza, unique and different and tasty, but timing is on the money. People want organic. People want natural.
Right.
But again, you got to make sure the timing. You got to call up the franchisees that have bought. Ask them the questions. How was the training? Would they do it over again? And once they get enough information, they can go to the SBA, or Don, you can certainly talk about how to get money from banks. That's
right.
Your specialty, I believe.
Right.
And before you know it, you get someone that's hot to trot. He's ready to leave his job. He's done his investigation. He is determined to make this thing work. He'll get the support of his family. And that's the kind of gumption you need to be fully informed before you just willy-nilly go ahead and sign papers.
You think this is a good time, George, to for someone to invest in a franchise? The economy's still tough. We're still in the Great Recession. Things getting a little better. What do you think about someone buying now?
My attitude about that is opportunity with the right firm, the sooner the better. If a company's moving and it's new, it's got exciting concepts, you've got to grab those things before the territory gets taken away.
Right.
Look what happened with Boston Chicken. In 3.5 years, we had sold out the country.
Yeah.
So you see, I'm saying two things at once here. I'm saying be very careful. Yet if you find something that gets validated and you spoke to the franchisees and you're getting good positive vibes, there's no time better than the present to establish yourself. The rents are pretty reasonable right now. The labor costs are pretty reasonable. You can hire people. People are looking for jobs. It's not a tight economy that way. And franchising, in my way, and saved me. I became a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchisee long before I knew what the heck a chicken looked like. And yet I became what they call the franchise guru. As I say, I love franchising. It's a formula, it's a recipe, it's a procedure, it's a method, and you're buying third base. And anybody that plays baseball will tell you, if you can get third base, grab it. I don't ever tell anyone that a franchise is a home run because they have to take themselves from third to home. But if a franchisor, can put you on third base, that's damn good.
Right, excellent analogy. And yeah.
What about
so tell us a little bit, George. Go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say the location, Mr. Naddaff. Last time we spoke to you, I know you were doing some interesting things with location as far as like airports. I know seemed like it was a pretty big opportunity for UFood Grills. The same situation from last time we spoke to you?
Oh, more so now. A number of airports. And, airports, you don't have to spend a nickel to get a customer to go to the airport. They're going there because they're flying somewhere.
Right.
When they get to the airport, they are confronted with the same food products that have been out there for the past 25 years.
Right.
All of a sudden, they look up and they say, UFood Grill. Feel great, eat smart. We're delicious, meat's nutritious. And they say, my God, I never saw that before. A burger. Yep, a bison burger with lean cheese on a whole wheat bun. Have your burger. What's that? You want fries? We don't have a fryer in our store. We air fry. We bake our fries. There isn't anything better tasting than our air fry. Every item on the menu has been designed to taste great, but it's the kind of food that people eat every day. It's not tofu and salads. It's for instance, you want a chipotle chicken, you have a chipotle chicken. You have salads. You have all kinds of veggie burgers, turkey burgers. We have items for the vegan. We have items for the organic. We have something on the menu for everybody. Now, I must tell you, selecting the right location, and airports, believe me when I tell you, are a slam dunk. When we get into an airport, the pilots start saying, when are you going to open up in this part of the country? When are you going to open up? The stewardess starts saying, hey, when are you going to do that? And before you know, you have an explosion of people asking, when? People want UFood in their communities. Something new, by the way, has happened, Marty and Don, to our company, quite extraordinary, in fact. The United States Army has signed an agreement with UFood to put UFood in military bases.
Wow, that's
a huge deal.
I mean, you have no idea. Our military forces are obese. They just discovered that. My God, if they're obese and we're sending them into the front, that's terrible. So they have discovered that they've got to do something about it. They did their investigation. We went to the military academy. We've got the head of the Navy SEALs, Lori Tubbs. She's come into Boston. She ate our food. We have Colonel Blaylock. We have Admiral Essex, General Essex, Admiral Milken. These are all people on our advisory board. And boy, are these guys tough. But they're the best thing that ever happened to us. So now when we go into these military bases, and by the way, these military bases aren't just little shops, literally hundreds of thousands. Right. And so we have 3 bases that have been given to us in Aberdeen, Maryland. We just signed up airports in Salt Lake City. We're in El Paso, Texas. We are in Dallas, Fort Worth, Cleveland Hopkins Airport. We're also, believe it or not, in hospitals. You probably know that the Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas is where Kennedy was shot and died.
Right.
They were going through the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and saw our UFood and couldn't believe the items on the menu and asked my franchisee if she would consider opening up and replacing McDonald's.
Wow.
That had been there for 20 years.
That's amazing.
And she had 14 different concepts at the airport. And she took on the responsibility, and now the UFood is the number 1 food concept in her chain. We're at Logan Airport, where, again, we are with McDonald's, we're with Villa Pizza and Cozy, and we surpass McDonald's by $20,000 a month. Gentlemen, if you give the traveling public a choice, that's the key here.
Right.
Because you don't find healthy places available. But we're going to take and go to every single airport humanly possible, every hospital, every college, every travel plaza. We're going to have over 10 to 20 Army bases soon. As we begin to grow this channel, you'll notice I didn't say commercial locations. These are all non-traditional.
Right.
So while the economy is moving along, these other opportunities of non-traditional are pouncing on us. So as a businessman, you take advantage of the opportunity. And right now, we have never been in a better situation in the past 5 or 6 years.
That's excellent. And then you have the relationship with George Foreman. He's a lot of fun, right?
Oh, boy, he's the guy that just loves to talk healthy. And as you know, he sold over 120 million grills, fat-free grills. And he's a lovable guy and loves to talk health.
So what keeps you going, George? I guess I mean you love business. You love building things. You're never going to stop, right?
You want to ask me how old I am? I'll allow you to do so.
How old are you, sir?
I'm glad you asked. I'm 81.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Find a job you love.
Amazing.
Find a job you love and never have to work another day in your life.
Yeah.
If you find something you love, it's not work. And what I enjoy, of course, is the launching of new concepts and working with people. I have a staff of 14 people here in Boston. And we just thoroughly enjoy getting up and getting in the office and opening stores.
Helping people who...
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of those people maybe, so I'm sure some are successful and they're diversifying and they like UFood Grill. I'm sure you have some people who maybe aren't doing that well and they've opened up, affiliated with your company, and I guess that's a good feeling, helping people, helping their families.
Well, you're going to love this. Mr. America and his wife, Miss Galaxy, they run the Fort Myers Health Club.
Yeah.
They got about 8,000 members. And they had a snack bar in that facility. And today, as you and I speak, there's a UFood Express unit being built to be put into that health club. And Bill Davey, Mr. America, can't wait to open it up because he thinks it's going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, it seems like a great natural fit. I guess that's another non-traditional type place.
Exactly. And, gyms across the country all have their little smoothie bars, but none of them running a restaurant's a little bit different, but that's what we're good at, and we're probably going to go after every gym in the United States as well.
Are you surprised, George, that the Great Recession hit like this? Is this surprise? I mean, my dad is 82, and he was born and had the effects of the Great Depression, and always told our family to save and be careful. Anything's possible. I mean, are you surprised that this has happened to our country?
Yes, quite honestly, it knocked us for a loop. In 2008, we had a bunch of stores that were just beginning to take off, and they got hit. When people have loans out and other concepts, they ran into a brick wall because the bank stopped loaning money.
Right. Yeah.
It's been a tough time. The industry has gone through a tough time. The food business has gone through a tough time. Everywhere you go, everybody's bundling, everybody's giving away food to keep the customer base. Why? Because it's important not to lose the customer base. But it's a tough time, so you better be willing to roll with the punches. You better be astute. You better be prepared to put in the hours. But if you grab a good concept, the franchise company will stand behind you. That's why it's important to check the franchise company out before you sign anything.
Great advice.
It sounds like UFood Grill is the next generation of fast food. I think if I can quote you or somebody, I recall saying that, Mr. Naddaff. And Don and I would definitely agree with that. It's really very exciting what's going on with you guys.
Well, it's like anything in life. Timing is everything. And we think we're building the stage for some pretty substantial growth. And all these channels of distribution have just been amazing to us. So we're rolling on, as they say in the trade.
When is someone going to write a book about you, Mr. Naddaff? That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, my wife keeps saying to me, don't you dare retire because you'll be under my feet. I'll throw you out of the house. But I've got a book half written, believe it or not.
Oh, that's great.
I speak before the MIT Forum for the past 18 years, and they've been telling me, come on, George, write that book. We want to hear about it.
I think everybody's waiting, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be soon. I need to get UFood up and running, and maybe then I'll begin giving some time to that.
That's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee, Mr. Naddaff? Any websites they can go to?
Yeah, they go to UFood Grill.
Okay.
And
.com. Okay.
.com. The phone number at the office is 617-787-6000.
And that's just the letter U, Food Grill.
U. Yeah.
Right.
UFood Grill. Right. The letter U, Food Grill.
Without an E. Yeah.
Right, with an E on the end of grill.
Without an E. Okay.
No E on the end.
No
okay,
E.
so just UFood Grill, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, when they get to that website, go to the franchise video. There's an 8-minute franchise video that will give them a real view of what consumers say and what franchisees say. It'll be a nice, interesting trip for them to take on the website.
Great.
That's fantastic. We'll post a link up on our show page and website as well, Mr. Naddaff, so everyone can have access to that as well. And I think the video is actually on YouTube.
Right.
You can check that out as well. So we'll put that link up there, too, so our listeners can get more information right away on becoming a franchisee. But, Don, I want to thank you again. We think you're great, and I'd like to invite you back next year again, Mr. Naddaff, on the show.
Keep up the good work, guys. You're doing a great job informing people about franchising. Good luck.
Thank you, George. Next time we have you on, we want that book finished. Finish that book.
You got it.
Autographed copy, that's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Naddaff. Great show, huh, Don?
Oh, yeah. Great to listen to.
That's just always, you can really, that could be a 2-hour, 3-hour show, quite frankly. He's just, he's fantastic. But,
great advice, inspiring, motivate. It's all great stuff.
A lot of different things. Again, this is the next generation of fast food. Wasn't it exciting? As he was telling you about, the airports and military bases and hospitals. He said, oh, my God. It's, and then if one franchise exceeding McDonald's, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's amazing. So we'll have to have Mr. Naddaff back, in the future. So
he's our friend. Yep.
Absolutely. So good job on segment 1 today, Don. And for our listeners, go to franchiseinterviews.com, franchisefunding.net, gofranchise.com, and Franchise World Radio.
Definitely. Great. Great job, Marty.
So good job, Don, and thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see everybody next week with another great show. Take care.